Comment 4chan a lancé une frappe aérienne en utilisant Google Maps de Visual Venture, qu'on a déjà vu sur la chaîne. Et bah j'ai aucune idée de ce qu'ils vont raconter, mais vu les dingueries que 4chan a déjà pu faire en utilisant justement des trucs vraiment, des bouts de vidéos, des bouts de photos qu'ils ont trouvés pour réussir à localiser des gens, notamment Shia LaBeouf avec son drapeau et tout, on sait que 4chan peut aller très très loin dans le délire quand il décide de casser les couilles à quelqu'un ou à une entreprise ou à une entité.
A website called 4chan and has slowly evolved into sort of the dustbin of the internet, if you will.
B is by far the most notorious forum and referred to by many as of the internet.
It seemed to be a magnet for people who like to cause trouble.
Ouais.
In the spring of 2000,
Bon, la moitié de 4chan, comme The Great Review l'a si bien dit un jour, la moitié de 4chan, c'est des enfants de 14 ans qui se font passer pour des nazis. L'autre moitié, c'est des nazis qui se font passer pour des enfants de 14 ans.
2016, a massive explosion hit a remote part of northern Syria. It was an airstrike and the target was a secret rebel camp linked to terrorist groups. But this wasn't an ordinary military operation. The ballistic missile wasn't directed by military experts, but by a bunch of 4chan users, or in other words, internet trolls.
Un vrai
So
missile.
how did 4chan's chronically online users manage to change the course of a war thousands of miles away? The answer isn't what you expect. This is the insane story of how a group of nerdy internet trolls launched a military airstrike using Google Maps. This video idea was inspired by YouTuber Pezzle, who created an amazing video on it. What 4chan is capable of.
On sait de quoi ils sont capables, 4chan, c'est des malades mentaux. C'est des énormes
It's hard to
malades
imagine
mentaux.
that 4chan, a website where teenagers discuss comic books and cartoons, could influence something as serious as a military airstrike. It's almost scary to imagine.
Ils ont pas
But
de
in
limite
order
en
to
fait.
understand how 4chan was capable of this, we need to look at its
La
insane
modération,
history.
c'est pas trop ça la modération sur 4chan quoi. C'est pas Reddit. En Reddit, des fois il y a des problèmes de modération, mais alors 4chan, c'est
In a
encore un autre
2014
univers.
headline, the Washington Post described 4chan as the internet's own boogeyman. That's a harsh description, but it's much nicer
envie de les
than
faire
this
chier,
Reddit
quoi.
post that labeled 4chan as a site filled with losers and psychos. But surprisingly, when
Ouais.
4chan started, it
Mais le problème, c'est que, effectivement, c'est des abrutis, des losers et des psychopathes. Le problème, c'est que réunis ensemble, ils forment une force de frappe vraiment non négligeable et très dangereuse.
was one of the friendliest places on the internet.
Ah ouais,
When
putain la
4chan
vache.
began more than 15 years ago, it wasn't really the place that it is now.
Launched
J'ai
in
jamais entendu parler de
2003
4chan en
by
bien,
a
donc,
teenager named Christopher Poole, 4chan started as an online message board. It was designed to be a place for young people to have discussions and post images related to anime and manga. But from day one, there was something that separated 4chan from other forums. Unlike other communities, 4chan didn't have a registration system. This meant that 4chan users were allowed to post messages or pictures anonymously without revealing their real identities. But this feature was both a blessing and a curse. Because of the anonymity,
Bah, l'anonymat, de toute façon, sur Internet, de manière générale, c'est une bénédiction et une malédiction. Hein. Peu importe où t'es, le fait d'avoir le droit à l'anonymat sur Internet, c'est bien quand t'as besoin d'aller dénoncer un massacre de Ouïghours en Chine. C'est bien quand t'as besoin de dénoncer une manipulation du gouvernement américain sur des votes ou ce genre de choses. C'est pas ouf. Ça permet de défendre des malades qui menacent de mort toute ta famille 10 fois par jour et que tu peux rien y faire parce qu'ils sont anonymes. Voilà.
4chan users felt free to express their honest thoughts without fear of judgment. However, that same anonymity meant that they could say virtually anything they want with practically zero accountability.
Allowed users
Généralement,
to
ils se dirigent vers des
anonymously
trucs
post
nazis, quoi.
whatever, and that whatever quickly became pretty much anything offensive you can think of.
Ouais.
The content on 4chan eventually got so toxic
Trolling
that
est né
the guy
là-bas,
who
hein.
created the website got summoned by the FBI and taken to court. And the reason why 4chan was capable of launching an airstrike was because of the kinds of people it attracts. There are different types of people on the site, ranging from your average neighbor to hackers that can dox you if you piss them off. 4chan users are often seen as nerds because of their interests, but they're some of the most highly intelligent, analytical, and focused people in the world.
C'est les malades.
With over 22 million monthly users, 4chan 4chan might just be the largest gathering of geniuses online. And it didn't take long
Sûrement.
before they caused a bit of mischief. No one trolls better than 4chan. For instance, 4chan is known for organizing raids. In this case, raids are when a group of 4chan users get together to target another website, online community, or even a person. They flood the target with mean comments or spam messages to harass them. People on 4chan often participate in these raids just for fun or to see how much trouble they can cause. In 2009, 4chan uploaded hundreds of adult videos onto YouTube just to cause confusion. The raid was
Et en même temps, vu que YouTube ça a été créé juste pour partager des vidéos du sein de Janet Jackson, je crois que c'est ça, au Super Bowl, bon, est-ce que c'est vraiment aller contre les origines de YouTube? Je suis pas sûr.
organized by a
Ils ont tout à fait
21-year-old
compris
4chan user
justement
from
à quoi servait
Germany
YouTube.
called Flaunty. He told the BBC, "I did it because YouTube keeps deleting music."
It was part of a 4chan raid, and I asked Flaunty, what is 4chan? He replied to me, I suggest you don't go there if you don't want to see gross things.
C'est très bien
Another
décrit.
example was a Canadian radio show that held a contest for a fan to meet Taylor Swift, and whoever got the most online votes would be the winner. The people in
putain.
charge thought that the winner would probably be one of Taylor Swift's teenage fans because the prize was an opportunity to meet her. But 4chaners saw this as an opportunity to have some
Qu'est-ce qu'ils ont
fun.
fait, ces cons?
Programmers on 4chan coded a specially made script running on more than 50 computers around the world. They rigged the votes to push a creepy 39-year-old man named Charles into
C'est des malades, c'est vraiment des tarés. Hein.
the top spot. 4chaners said they wanted creepy Charles to meet Taylor Swift and sniff her hair. Charles won, but he was disqualified for irregular voting patterns. As you can probably tell by now, they are skilled. Stunts like these painted 4chan
C'est terrible parce qu'ils sont tellement talentueux, tellement innovants et tellement genre bons pour trouver des solutions à des trucs où personne d'autre trouve des solutions. Vraiment, il y a vraiment beaucoup de cas où genre des 4chaners ou même des redditors parfois, mais en vrai c'est à peu près le même public. C'est juste qu'ils sont pires les gens de 4chan. Tellement de cas où ils ont fait preuve d'un génie mais incroyable pour localiser le drapeau de Shia LaBeouf et tout pendant son He Will Not Divide Us. Putain, mais les mecs ont fait preuve de ressources, mais inimaginable. Genre, si la CIA avait accès aux ressources de 4chan, mais putain, mais Ben Laden, il aurait été trouvé 3e jour de sa fuite. Hein. Genre, vraiment, c'est sûr. Hein. Et à côté de ça, c'est juste des dégénérés parce qu'ils utilisent leurs ressources et leur génie que pour faire des trucs débiles de fou qui n'ont aucun sens. À part pour eux et les gens qui trouvent ça marrant. Moi, je trouve ça marrant, en vrai, j'avoue. Bon, ça reste des fils de pute parce que bon, ils ont cassé les couilles à Shia LaBeouf. Le mec avait rien demandé à personne. C'est très marrant comme histoire à suivre. Mais bon, j'avoue que à la place de Shia LaBeouf, j'aurais vraiment eu les boules, ça m'aurait pété les couilles aussi, quoi.
as a website of genius
C'est des cons,
troublemakers
quoi.
who loved to stir
Mais qu'est-ce qu'ils
things
sont
up.
marrants,
So
putain.
how did these pranks turn into coordinating an airstrike? Arming up for the fight. 4chan is a reminder of how intense online communities can be, and sometimes stepping away from the chaos and reconnecting with the real world is what we all need. So I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but I literally wear this necklace every time I film a video, but
old cam?
ironically, this video is
No.
the one time I forgot to put it on. So what's especially cool about this necklace is that it is a reminder to touch grass. In every piece that Holzkern
voilà.
makes, they incorporate
C'est ça.
natural materials. This necklace is called the Derivat necklace, which is made of marble and silver. And this other one that I just picked up is the Campania necklace made of satellite and Damascus, and my fiance loves this one on me. Holzkern is a watch and jewelry brand for both men and women. They make products in small quantities to make sure that they meet a high standard of quality that will last you a long time. Like I said, it's literally been over a year since I got this. Still looks fire. To get one for yourself or as a gift for your loved ones, since the holiday season is coming up, click my link below or use my discount code VENTURE to get 10% off. And of course, super glad that
Holzkern, ils font
Holzkern is
énormément de
sponsoring
sponsors,
this video.
depuis un moment.
Quality stuff. It all started
Je les
when
voyais jamais
anonymous-
avant. Maintenant, j'ai l'impression de les voir en vrai quasiment partout, quasiment autant que NordVPN, ce genre de truc, quoi.
4chan user created a discussion board called Syria General, also known as SG. While most 4chan boards were about casual things like anime and memes, the SG board involved a real war. The Syria General discussion board talked about the conflict in Syria. And just to be clear, none of these are my personal opinions, I'm just stating the facts about what we've researched. The Syrian conflict started in 2011 when Syrians protested against President Bashar al-Assad. They wanted him
Assad,
to
okay.
step down down so they could have a more democratic government. But Assad's response was violent, turning protests into full-blown civil war. As the conflict worsened, rebel groups formed against Assad. To fight back, President Assad asked Russia for help, and by September 2015, Russia was providing air support, weapons, and troops. Around the peak of the Syrian civil war, the SG board on 4chan became popular. It was a hub where users discussed and debated about the conflict. However, most of the members of the board were in support of President Assad, often portraying him as a hero fighting against terrorism and rebellion. And these 4chaners were ready to make a difference. In May 2016, they finally got their chance. A video of Syrian rebels in a secret training camp was uploaded to YouTube. The group behind the video was called Jaish al-Izza. And forgive me if I'm probably butchering it.
Et voilà, donc ils vont commencer à utiliser du coup leurs ressources et leur ingéniosité, évidemment, et leurs très très nombreuses heures de jeu sur GeoGuessr, très certainement aussi, pour trouver les planques des terroristes, en gros. C'est évidemment ce qui va se passer.
These pronunciations. Jaish al-Izza was formed as a rebel group in northern Syria, allegedly connected to Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and fought against President Assad's forces. Being a rebel group, they kept their base hidden, only appearing when it was time to fight. Jaish al-Izza managed to stay under the radar until they posted that YouTube video. The video showed rebel soldiers performing drills, practicing with weapons, and preparing for hand-to-hand combat. This was a mistake that cost them their lives.
Bon, moi je veux voir 4chan qui rase une base rebelle juste grâce à la couleur du gravier qu'on voit dans la vidéo, à la forme des nuages et à l'inclinaison de l'horizon par rapport à la caméra.
2016, an anonymous 4chan user shared the rebel training video on the SG discussion board and started a thread. The thread was titled Rebel
Je
Training.
vous jure que ça va être un truc comme ça. C'est malade, c'est sûr que ça va être un truc comme ça. Ça va être par rapport à la couleur du sable ou genre de truc par rapport aux plantes qu'il y a derrière. C'est sûr.
Northern Hama. Can SG find it? The
Par rapport à
members
la
of the
météo.
SG board were frustrated by what the rebels were doing. Now they had the opportunity to help President Bashar win the war by finding the rebel base. So, can SG find it? That line was an invitation to solve
Évidemment.
a real-world puzzle, except the puzzle involved life and death. Finding the rebel base wasn't going to be easy. The only clue they had was the camp somewhere in northern Hama in Syria. The rebels had no idea, but hundreds of hackers and internet trolls were on a mission to track them down,
Ils ont eu
coming
chance.
together to defeat the enemy.
L'intelligence collective est
For
beaucoup trop
almost
puissante.
anyone, finding a rebel camp somewhere in the Syrian desert would be an impossible task. But for 4chan, it was just another Monday because their would be an
Je pense pas que le désert syrien soit aussi étendu que ce que tu nous montres là, mais bon.
impossible task. But for 4chan, it was just another
sais
Monday
que c'est juste
because
des
they're
assets.
legendary for their geolocation skills. To geolocate means to identify the exact location of an
Ouais.
object on the
Et ça, c'est
surface of the
vraiment, hein, c'est 100% grâce à leurs heures passées sur GeoGuessr.
Earth, down to the latitude and longitude coordinates. The most impressive example of 4chan's geolocation skills happened in 2010 when someone posted a video of a woman tossing a cat that was alive into a trash can. Everyone who saw the video wanted the woman
Il y a vraiment
punished,
des
but
bons gros
unfortunately,
enculés sur
no one
Terre.
knew who she was or where the video was filmed. That's when 4chan got involved. Their mission was to find the woman and
Faut
make
jamais
her
devenir
pay.
l'ennemi
It
public
took
d'Internet,
barely
hein.
24 hours for them to analyze the clues in the video and find out who the woman was, where she worked, and where she lived. But they didn't even stop there. 4chan also released the woman's phone number and a Google map of her home address so that the angry
Ouah.
people on social media
S'il décode pas, putain.
could find
Par contre, c'est très illégal.
her.
Mais
The
bon.
woman was so
Ils en ont
frightened
rien à
that she
foutre.
turned herself in to the police for protection. 4chaners are experts at finding people, and they were going to apply those same geolocation skills to this new challenge. The first step was to
Oh, j'ai
analyze
aucun
the
doute qu'ils
video for any
vont réussir.
clues that could reveal the location of the training camp.
Couleur du sable.
4chaners replayed the video multiple times, paying close attention to
On a
every detail.
les trucs, les piliers électriques derrière qui peuvent complètement les aider. La forme de l'horizon qui nous indique que ouais, c'est légèrement, il y a un peu de relief quand même.
The first thing they noticed were the power lines in the distance. That was their first clue. If they could find where these 3 power lines were, they would be one step closer to finding the camp. And they had the perfect tool to give them a bird's eye view of any place in the world, Google Earth. The 4chaners zoomed in on
Après, c'est quelle époque? Est-ce qu'on a l'époque? Parce que peut-être qu'il n'y avait pas encore. On était au début de genre Google Earth, ce genre de truc. Ça a pas l'air d'être écrit.
the northern Hama area, searching for a spot that had the 3 power grids they saw
De toute
in the
façon,
video.
la Syrie avec Bachar al-Assad, c'est pas si vieux que ça, hein. 6-7 ans.
One user found a location on Google Earth that looked similar and shared it to the group. It
Un peu
had
plus.
3 power grids, just like the one in the video. The next step was to estimate the size of the power grid so that they could get a sense of the distance and figure out how far the power grids were from the rebel base. To do that, someone in the group provided a blueprint with detailed measurements of the power lines in the area. By analyzing the blueprints of the power lines and comparing the buildings in the video to those on Google Earth, they pinpointed where the base could be. But they needed to be extra sure, so the 4chaners reviewed the video again to see if they could spot more landmarks. They matched the buildings in the video with those on Google Maps, but buildings nearby all looked the same. So they kept replaying the video searching for more clues. That's when they noticed the beams. In the training video, a building behind the soldiers had an unfinished roof made of 5 beams. When they checked Google Maps, they saw a roof with 5 lines which were likely the beams. After confirming 3 details, the power grids, the building layout, and 5 matching beams, they knew they had the right location. They found the coordinates. But their discovery created a new problem. What were they going to do with this information? How were a bunch of keyboard
Le premier truc qui leur est venu à l'esprit, c'est d'aller leur balancer un missile sur la gueule.
going to destroy rebels thousands of miles
C'est pas comme s'ils avaient pu donner ces coordonnées au gouvernement syrien, par exemple.
The time has come. The members of 4chan were
Bon, s'ils avaient fait ça, ça aurait pas été leur
However,
victoire.
simply finding the location wasn't enough. They needed to get this information into the hands of someone with the power to take action. And that's when they decided to forward the coordinates to a mysterious Twitter user named Ivan Sidoryenko. Okay. Ivan is a Russian journalist with a secret identity. Most people first heard about him through his Twitter account. There, Ivan would frequently post updates about the Syrian war, sharing news and opinions in favor of President Assad and the Syrian government. However, there were certain things about Ivan, the journalist, that didn't add up. The first red flag was his name. Ivan Sidoryenko was also the name of one of Russia's most lethal snipers from World War II, with about 500 confirmed kills. This made many people suspect Ivan's name was an alias to hide his true identity. But why would a journal need a secret identity? Another troubling thing about Ivan was his apparent high-level access to secret Russian military information. He would report on planned airstrikes or other operations as soon as they happened, and Ivan's information was always...
Mais pourquoi ce mec aurait créé un compte Twitter? C'est s'exposer, non? C'est bizarre comme comportement pour un mec qui est censé être genre dans je sais pas, les forces secrètes ou qui se crée des fausses identités et tout.
Right. This made many people believe that Ivan had serious connections to the Russian military, making him a powerful and intimidating figure online. They called Ivan a friend of Russia's Ministry of Defense. This made Ivan the perfect person for the 4chaners to forward their coordinates to. Lucky for them, there was already someone on the SG board who had a direct line to Ivan. On May 30th, 2016, a 4chan user reached out to Ivan with a tweet. It read, "Hey, I think SG found the right place this time." And then they sent Ivan the coordinates. The 4chan user added, "Let us know if it's the right place. It sure looks like it." Ivan reviewed the coordinates and his response was short and cold. He said, "Done, thanks." Now comes the hardest part, waiting. Tension on the SG board was high. 4chaners kept refreshing their screens, waiting for any sign of the airstrike. They scrolled other threads to stay busy, but kept returning to see updates. They were used to trolling online, but this was on another level. Real lives could
Mais je peux pas m'empêcher de me dire du coup que tous les mecs qui ont participé à ça là, eux ils pensent, enfin il y en a probablement qui pensaient participer à genre un jeu sur internet, quelque chose comme ça, qui n'avaient pas conscience de la réalité de ce qu'ils étaient en train de faire parce qu'ils sont en train de le faire sur internet, ils sont très loin de tout ça eux. Au moment où l'airstrike elle a été fait et que le missile il a frappé la base et qu'il a tué plein de rebelles, putain mais il y a des mecs derrière leur clavier qui ont dû se dire oula putain, on vient vraiment de faire tuer des mecs là. Parce que c'est ce qu'ils ont fait littéralement, ils sont responsables de la mort de ces mecs du coup. Est-ce qu'ils s'en sont rendus compte? Est-ce qu'il y en a certains qui ont pris conscience de ça?
Lost because of what they've done. As the gravity of the situation began to weigh on them, the atmosphere in the group grew tense. They believed the rebel group had ties to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. This meant that they were the bad guys. Whatever the case, it was too late to turn back now. All they could do was wait. Hours passed.
Il y en a qui ont commencé à cogiter du coup, ouais.
May 31st, 2016. Just when it seemed nothing was going to happen, a breaking news alert flashed across their screens. The Russian military launched an airstrike on a rebel base in the Syrian desert.
Putain.
The coordinates matched the exact positions shared by the 4chan members. There is even footage showing the airstrike. The SG board erupted into celebration. Some cheered while others sat in stunned silence behind
ouais.
their laptops.
Bah
They
ouais
did
les
it.
gars, vous avez tué les gens en fait. Ouais, et ouais. Ce que vous faites derrière votre ordinateur, des fois, ça a des répercussions dans la vie réelle, quoi.
By tapping on their
Effectivement.
keyboards in the safety of their homes, these young guys on 4chan
Bah
ended
oui,
many
les gars.
lives, for better or for worse. Ivan even acknowledged 4chan's role in the airstrike with a tweet. Location of a terrorist training camp thanks to SG. However, as they celebrated, one last piece of information was revealed. It made people wonder whether the 4chan users who located the rebel base were truly heroes or the worst of villains. Did 4chan target the right group?
Ah ouais.
Although the 4chaners believed they were doing the right thing by targeting what they considered a terrorist group, others thought differently. In a Reddit post, a user explained that the group 4chan targeted might not have been terrorists at all. The Redditor pointed out the group was Jaish al-Izzah. They're not a terrorist group, they're just a group among the many who want to remove the oppressive Assad regime. These 4chan idiots thought these guys would be terrorists simply because they were in good terms with Al-Qaeda. Jaish al-Izzah has also not committed any terrorist acts. Simply put, 4chan might have helped launch an airstrike on freedom fighters
peut-être
who
massacrer
were
des
only
innocents,
fighting for their rights.
Même si c'est pas eux qui ont appuyé sur le bouton pour lancer le missile, c'est eux qui ont donné les coordonnées, ils sont responsables en vrai complètement de la mort de ces mecs-là. Hein.
Can't know for sure if those rebels
Et de
were
toute façon, même si les mecs sont coupables, hein, même si les mecs sont vraiment coupables et que c'est vraiment des terroristes, on parle quand même de civils qui ont provoqué la mort d'autres gens. Enfin, c'est pas banal. Hein. Tu peux derrière aller peut-être prendre des séances de psy parce que et va expliquer à ta psy que t'as participé à une chasse en ligne avec tes potes sur un forum pour trouver un groupe terroriste, que vous avez donné les coordonnées au gouvernement russe, et que du coup, bah peut-être qu'à cause de toi, il y a une centaine de mecs qui se sont fait exploser par un missile parce que t'as un peu trop pris à cœur un truc sur internet, quoi.
terrorists or not. What we do know is that 4chan did something no internet forum has ever done before. They weren't soldiers, they weren't military, most of them were labeled nerds by a large portion of the internet. But with just laptops and Google Maps, they played a
L'autisme weaponisé, genre, c'est vraiment ça.
a large portion of the internet. But with just laptops and Google Maps, they played a direct role in a lethal military operation. The event took place in 2016, but to this day, people on the internet talk about 4chan with fear and respect. And they should, because with this airstrike, 4chan users proved that if we put our collective minds together, there's nothing
Les 4chan
stopping
l'a
us.
prouvé plusieurs fois, ça. Hein.
Visual Venture.
C'est des niqués, hein. Ils ont prouvé vraiment plusieurs fois qu'en s'associant tous ensemble et tout, ils pouvaient vraiment faire des dingueries et avoir des influences complètement tarées sur la vie réelle. Hein. Mais après, c'est des malades aussi. Bon, c'est vraiment des malades, quoi.